Hello, Lavala likers. Well, thank you for the patience that you've had with us so far, and we're learning as we go along, so we appreciate any feedback. If you like the channel, just subscribe. Right now, today, the thing I'm trying to achieve through this channel is I'm trying to achieve the myth of the old grandma's recipe, dirty-fingered recipe book that everybody refers to as secret recipes, and they protect it with their life. I want to show you how easy it is in order to achieve a product once you know the ratios and the science that goes with it. Okay, so we've had 2 requests, one from Debbie. Love you, Debbie. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the request. She's asked for a sticky date pudding. And from Susan in South Africa. Susan bought, she went to panic, bought a whole lot of bananas. I'm going to make banana bread, and I'm going to make sticky date pudding. Before we look at the recipes that I've created, and let's call them recipes utilizing the ratios. All right, I want to explain there's 2 types of sponges. There's a genoise sponge, which is an egg sponge that doesn't use any butter. All right, and there is a butter sponge, which is your old sweet breads, you know, the sultana bread, the fruit breads, and passion fruit. You know, those are all different things that you can make continuously, utilizing things you grow, etc. All right, so remembering the ratio, all right, the ratio for a butter sponge ratio. So I'm just calling it a butter sponge ratio. It's equal parts butter, sugar, eggs, and flour, plus baking powder or baking soda. Now the thing about baking powder, if you want something to come out white, use baking powder. If you want something to come out yellow and caramelly, use baking soda. All right, but the ratio is 50 grams per kilogram of flour, or 5%, which is on a handy dandy little thingy there. And we're going to make date pudding. Okay, just remember when you're following the ratios, and you'll start to understand how I do my recipes. Okay, the recipes, you'll see a 1, 2, 3, 4. I try to put them in sequence, the ingredients in sequence. So understanding, you put the butter and sugar, and it tells you there cream 1, then add 2, which is there, then add 3, which is there, then add 4, which is there. Okay, and then the technique essentially is to, or the temperature that you bake or cook it at, is to steam it at 180 degrees. I was told not to ramble, and I didn't. Yes! Okay, so banana bread. I'm going to make a little bit of noise, but the first 2 things I'm going to do, and I'm going to make the banana bread and the date pudding at the same time. So first thing is number 1, add the butter and the sugar. Okay, I'm going to do the same over here, add the butter and the sugar. Okay, try to keep it clean, try and make it as Jamie Oliver as possible. Okay. Then, whilst you're looking at that, I'm going to, sorry, that is the oven going off. Genevieve, can you please push stop start? Okay, I'm then going to make a noise. Essentially, I'm going to add bananas. So peel your bananas. The recipe is there, so you'll be able to follow it. I didn't have rotten bananas because normally what I do is I freeze my bananas as they start to ripen. Okay, but the blacker they are, I promise you, the sugars are highest, and that's when you want to actually use them, because that makes it sweet. Okay, so I've got those 2. I'm going to blend those up together, and then I'm going to mix these. If you're using those, use the paddle. If you're using a hand mixer, use the little spiral beater thingies. Okay, so before I carry on with that, I'm going to add my dates. So that's the flavor I'm going to be using. Those are the basic ingredients that I'm going to be using. But for this one's reason, I'm going to add the dates to the water and let them soak in a little bit. There's so many myths about this, and I'm not going to get into myths right now. If you're really interested, on a later date, we'll go into a more technical basis, but I think I'll save you for that right now. So I'm going to make a noise. Please bear with me. Alright, a helpful hint. Okay, there's a lot of channels that they stand there and they say, stop the machine, scrape it, scrape it, scrape it. I got a plumber's flame for you. Generally, you'll need this later if you're going to take it really seriously, want to do creme brulee. It'll be really handy for you. So essentially, just come around here and then just heat the side of the bowl. And that'll just bring the ingredients together.
Don't do this if you have a plastic bowl.
It works wonderfully with glass as well. So if you have a glass bowl, use it. Just how to snap it. Alright, at this stage, you want to add the eggs. Once it's nice and creamy and fluffy, to show that, just add your eggs. I'll add them to both of them and switch it on, cream it up again. Just add your eggs. I keep all my eggshells for the garden. Never throw your eggshells away if everybody's just, you know, filling landfill with useless things. Alright, the things that are organic and are from the earth, I try to give back to the earth. Oops, see, a little bit of egg. Okay, so now you can see the butter is capturing the eggs, it's holding the eggs together, and you look at my beautiful old kenwood. Okay, this is an A701, you will, A700, sorry, the A700 you'll notice with two slots, there's an A701 and A701A. Alright, they will have little slots and different things on that, but this is the very first kenwood that was ever made. Alright, it was made in the early 1940s or the late 1940s, and it advanced from there. Okay, I have a whole lot. I've got about 16 different kenwoods, from the first hand mixers to the rest. All right, follow me, Bern, follow me. This is just some of them. All right, they're looking a little bit thin, but you know, how do you make them original? They're only original ones. So I've got from the early 1950s and 60s through to the 1980s. Okay, I'm going to add the wet ingredients to the mixture now. So adding the bananas, all of them. I'm using yogurt instead of buttermilk. You can use anything you really want. But just remember, you'll notice from the original ratio to the recipe, I've adjusted the flour, I've increased the flour. Once you know the ratio, you know what it does, you know how to change it. Okay, so I'm adding bananas to that, and I'm adding dates to the date one, and the milk. The reason I add milk, I want it, especially when you're making a pudding, you want your pudding to be a little bit denser than your normal one. It just changes the structure. You know, you don't want a light cakey thing with that. Okay, switching on again. Once again, I'm going to use my handy dandy plumber's gun to get all the ingredients together. Peel them off the side rather than scraping. You'll notice as well, I didn't put it on full blast. If you do put it on full blast, you will be spray painting the kitchen. Preferably not to. Alright, now I'm just going to stop it. Once the other way, or I'll spray paint the kitchen. I'm going to stop it now. You know, everybody says fluffy and white. You have to sift all your flour. Nowadays, flour is pretty fine. The thing is, with baking soda, where both of these I want them to be caramelly, so I'm using baking soda with both of these recipes. Sift your baking soda. There's nothing worse than chewing into a chunk of baking soda. You know, it's like eating soap. Okay. And again, sticking to these ratios, you're never going to have that soapy taste to your product. If you know, and that's the problem I have with people using cups and all of those types of techniques. Those Americans, only the Americans can do that successfully. I'm really unsuccessful at it. So I use a digital scale and I use grams. All right, so I've added that, the baking soda to the flour. Now I'm adding some cinnamon. I like cinnamon, so, you know, basically both of these recipes have cinnamon. And I put a bit of salt. Yesterday I mentioned a little bit of sweet with your saltiness. And do the same in reverse, a little bit of salty with your sweetness. That engages all your taste buds and it just makes the flavors really rounded. And now what I'm going to do is add the flour. Alright, there's a lot of Swiss people and German people that are going to say to me, no, you must add it in stages. Doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. You do want to engage some of the gluten in your product, in your flour. So adding it all together and then beating it up, letting the flour strengthen a little bit, not too much, is actually quite necessary in both the recipes. Just remember, and you'll notice that the ratio of the flour is a little bit higher, so that also binds all the wet ingredients that we do. Put it on there, and just switch it on slowly at first, and you can start paddling it in a little bit later. Or just mixing it a little bit faster a little bit later. This is almost like a cooking challenge, you know? How do you do two things separately, but similarly at the same time? Okay. As you can see, both of them have gone a little bit sticky, and that's what you want to do. I find that when you undermix something, it gets too crumbly. When you overmix it, it gets too doughy. Right, so getting in between that, that's only with practice. You know, if you enjoy it enough, you will get there. But no matter what it is, the flavor is going to be great, even if it's a little bit chewy, a little bit too hard, a little bit too crumbly. So don't worry about it too much. Your product will be there. Okay, so pretty much that's your recipe. If you want to make muffins with this, go for it. Put them in muffin containers. If you want to make a banana pudding with walnuts and caramel, go for that as well. Okay, so I'm taking these two out and I'm going to mold them up and put them into my container. Handy dandy mixing person. Okay, for today I'm going to make a traditional loaf. I do have a handy hint for this, and the handy hint, a lot of people say you have to butter it, you have to all of those things. I rely on spray and cook. The normal old spray oil really works well. It does, however, create a challenge on the bottom of the mold, and the way I'll get rid of that is to cut it in strips. So don't worry about the sides, because the sides you can cut out. It's the bottom that you have to worry about. Taking that and just putting it into the mold so that your bottom is secure and you don't have to worry about the thing folding up against the sides, and all those fancy little sideway cuts, don't worry too much about it. Okay, so in order to mold this, take your mixture, put it in. See, it's kind of sticky-ish, it's holding itself, and that's what you're trying to achieve. Okay, I like almonds on pecan nuts with this. Funnily enough, the two recipes that I'm making today have pecan nuts, but I know that I like to use pecan nuts. There is no rules, so I just want to get out the message out that there is no rules around this. Okay, so I put pecan nuts with that, but I know Peter doesn't like nuts in his cake, so I'm making one without
and you
nuts.
might not have them in your cupboard at the moment, so whatever you've got, really.
Whatever. Cashew nuts, walnuts, almonds are a little bit hard, but if you like almonds, go for it, or just don't use nuts. There's various ways to make pudding. I'm going to make it supported in a bowl. Okay, put this pudding inside a bowl, and then I'm going to steam these. Okay, this is going to be too much. Rule of thumb is normally it comes up double from where you started. Okay, and one of these I'm going to put with nuts and one of them without nuts. Okay, two things that you can change at this point is the way you cook it. Alright, you can either steam it or bake it. I'm going to use an oven that has a steaming facility. If you don't have a steaming facility, you can dry bake it as well. It doesn't make too much difference. Or you can cook it in a pot the way your grandmother taught you. Alright, I don't cook much like that because we have technology nowadays. But yeah, if you're familiar with that technique, you use it, or just dry bake it. All right, now I'm going to put them in the oven. I've got two ovens here, so it's not to take too much time. All right, you can zoom into here. I'm going to put it on for 30 minutes. Okay, and smash the start button. Then I'm going to go for, and I'm running around again, and I'm going to go for the steam pudding. Okay. I'm putting on full steam at 110 degrees. And I'll put that on for 45 minutes. So every pudding it's nice and sticky and gooey. It comes from the steaming. It also comes from the syrup that you use. Why do it that way? All right. I'm sure there's some purists that say otherwise. So I've got the recipe, which we'll put on a little bit later on a further link. So I'm just adding all the ingredients. So the molasses I find is just beautiful, rich and dark, and it just adds to the flavor. It also adds some of the sweetness. Some butter. That'll just, you know, everything tastes better with butter. Okay? I always say I'm a very average cook. All right? I cheat a whole lot. Butter and cream fixes everything. Okay, so put it in there. And then you want to time this. Once this is boiling, you want to try and time it so that it boils at the same time as your pudding comes out of the oven. And then straight away we're going to put it on. And I'll show you that a little bit later. So, should be ready now. Let's have a look. Steam pudding was smaller. I probably put them in 2 smaller containers, but not the point. Woo, steam. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to take the 2 steam puddings out. Mount Vesuvius. How do you say that, Bernie?
Mount Vesuvius.
That one. Okay, so they're steamed, they're hot out of the oven. At the same time, our syrup's boiling. Our aim is to drizzle this whilst the pudding is still hot. What that will do is the pudding will absorb all the beautiful syrup. Can you smell that molasses burn? It's just absolutely beautiful. And the molasses essentially, you know, and it comes from that brown sugar, you know, the Crawley sugar. I call it Crawley sugar. It's probably Demerara sugar and all of those things. Essentially, white sugar is sugar that has the molasses removed. So it has that beautiful dark sugar smell, which is really rich. Okay? And try not to let it spill over the edges. David. And here we go. And let it absorb. Now you will see there's a suspicious loaf sitting there. Now that suspicious loaf was just to prove a point. Okay, the point was that it's all exactly the same and the ratios, etc. all work together. So what I did is I had a little bit of the banana loaf and a little bit of the date loaf left over. So what I did is I mixed the 2 together and I threw it in the dry oven. Okay, so let's give that one a cut before I go to our banana loaf. So give that one a cut and see what it comes out like. Aha! There we go. Beautiful. Oscar, you're going to taste?
Yes.
Sweet. I got a little bit of butter here. Although there's butter inside, there's never enough butter in it. So you're going to put that on there. It just melts in. I'm very partial to honey with all of these things because nothing has enough sugar, nor butter, nor cream. There you go, Oscar. Eat. Eat me. Pretty average? Alright, we have a saying here. If your average isn't good enough, how does the saying go, Louie?
I don't know, you're saying it.
Alright, if your average isn't excellent, it just isn't good enough. So everything we make is average. If it really, really is good, it's above excellence. There we go. Alright, next thing we're going to test. Right, nothing beats the old skewer test. Even though I'm used to pushing with my hands and getting the feeling of it, pushing the skewer in, if it comes out dry, then you know your product is ready. Okay, so there we go. See, it comes out dry. We're spot on time. Okay, these were a little bit large, so they took a little bit longer than the 30 minutes. Please, there's going to be a lot of people asking, and you see how beautiful that comes out? And the bottom is spared. A lot of people are going to be asking, is that my oven and my form, right? I would say for a smallish one, 30 minutes. I would say for a largish one, 45 to an hour. Okay, it depends how big your form is, or your mold or loaf or whatever you're using for that. Okay, really is hot at the moment, so I'm not going to cut the nut one because that'll just break the sponge. I'm going to cut the plain one, and let's see how that looks. Okay, here's the paper on the bottom, and there we go. It's perfectly out. Rather than this whole gather, cut, all of that waste of time, waste of my time. And I don't have the patience for that. All right, want to get down to the real stuff. So let's cut that up. Oscar, you have to taste the banana bread by itself. And to me, that's what banana bread should look like. I don't like these light ones, okay? I love it when it's dark and it's got that color coming through. It's beautiful. All right, the reason why it's gone brown over there is just stayed in a little bit extended. The loaf was a little bit large, and therefore it's just caramelized a little bit more on the outside. It's not burnt, and the flavor won't change too much, but that's why there's a darker color on the bottom. But to me, it's perfectly fluffy. Oscar, I need you to taste it again. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm going to taste some of this because it really smells amazing. You take the fluffy bit.
Thank you.
Here we go. Must be sticky, light, and fluffy, and chewy, and all of those things. How's that?
Good.
Which one? Oops. Don't talk to your husband. Which one you prefer, Oscar? Banana bread's killer, huh? Okay, now we just have to taste the pudding. Okay, I'm going to do another sector, and that's, to me, what it should be looking like. A little bit dry in the middle. That's perfect for me. I do have more syrup, which I'll douse in it a little bit later. But essentially that one. I'm going to give that one a nibble. All right, creme anglaise, ice cream, whatever you want, just normal cream. Beautiful. That's exactly what I want. Bernie, can you taste it? Because I know this is one of your favorites. There we go.
Ah, you twist my arm.
Twist your arm. I know it's one of Bernie's favorites.
Mm.
It's just absolutely beautiful. Light,
Yum.
fluffy, and all of those
And
things.
lovely and moist.
Cool. So, once again, please subscribe. Looking forward to hearing your comments. And please challenge us. Challenge us with things that you'd like to try. Challenge us with myths and all of those things. And we'll try and answer all of them as best as possible. Okay, I've still got some work to do on the recipes where I'll script it off. Thank you very much.